I focused on outsourcing, and now I'm really focused on insourcing. In this video, I just really want to talk about the roadmap, how to think about outsourcing, what are the first steps to take, what's the frame of mind that you need to keep in mind as you are considering things that you can outsource or delegate in your business. Hey, CourtneyLSanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time 7-figure certified life and business coach, as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things, but I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't outsource, right? So I focused on outsourcing, and now I'm really focused on insourcing, which I feel like is a topic I'll have to do. And one of my podcasts, by the way, if you are not subscribed to my podcast, you totally should, because I have a whole series called the CEO series where I share real-time things that I am focused on as I grow my business from 7 to hopefully 8 figures and build out a full team. So I originally got started with outsourcing things. Now I'm insourcing, meaning hiring people that are not contractors, but actually work in my business to do various things. But either way, it's mastering the art of delegation. And so this was a mindset that I had from the very beginning in my business. I often tell the story about how I hired not 1, but 2 virtual assistants to answer questions and client questions, deal with my email inbox, and to design my graphics and help me with social media while I was working my full-time job. So I always say I paid others before I paid myself, right? As I was growing my business. And so then I was able to quit, but it was wonderful because after I quit my job and was working full-time in my business, I already had 2 virtual assistants that were used to my business and my systems that were there to support me. So in this video, I just really want to talk about the roadmap, how to think about outsourcing, what are the first steps to take, and really what's the frame of mind that you need to keep in mind as you are considering things that you can outsource or delegate in your business. All right, so the first part of this outsourcing roadmap that you need to consider is what are your repetitive tasks? That's really the best place to start. So I know there's a lot of different hats that you're wearing when you're first starting your business, and there's a lot of different hats that you're probably wearing at home, especially as women, especially if you're, a mother like I am, you wear the hat of chef and, at-home doctor, right? And housekeeper, and like you're doing all these things to keep your household running, to support your family, and then you're trying to grow this business on the side. So you'll want to think about what are the repetitive tasks that you find yourself doing over and over again, that maybe if you just delegated that would kind of clear some mental space so that you don't always have to be worrying about this repeated task that is, coming back around, something that you do every day or every week or every month. I find that it's almost like memory in a computer, right? If you have this program that's kind of like running in the back of your mind, even if you're focused on other things, it's kind of hard to give your full attention because there's always that like nagging thing of like, oh yeah, in 2 weeks I need to do this thing, or like next week I need to do this thing. So whatever those things are, whether it's in your business life or in your personal life, the sooner you can get that off your plate so that it's not using up all your memory in computer language and running in the background of your mind, the freer you are to really focus on the tasks that are really going to help you grow your business. And so for me, some repetitive tasks are things like dry cleaning, right? I was always like, oh my goodness, like did I drop the clothes off for dry cleaning this week, or do I need to pick them up? Or it's so silly, and it's like such a small thing, but again, that thing like running in the back of your mind, it was like always pulling my attention towards it and really just stressing me out. So one of the first things that I outsourced was dry cleaning, and that we did then, and we have it now where we have it where someone will come to the house and just pick up the dry cleaning, right? So I put all the dry cleaning in a bag, you wear the clothes, you put them in the hamper. I line the hamper with the bag that comes from the dry cleaning company. And then when that hamper is full, I just, pull the drawstring and then drop it out on my doorstep, and someone from the dry cleaning company will come. In fact, we have set days where they come, every Thursday or like whatever. And so I just know on Thursdays, just take whatever's in that bag and drop it off on the doorstep, and they will not only dry clean the clothes, but next week they will then come and then drop them off on the doorstep as well. And it's like marvelous. Again, so simple. Yes, it costs money, but not as much as you think, right? It's just like a little extra on each item. And, I find that if I'm focusing my attention, not so much on saving money as much as I'm focusing my attention on how can I make more money, which we'll get into in just a moment, that really helps me and that really frees me. So ask yourself, what are those repetitive tasks that you're doing all the time? Ask yourself this in your personal life. So maybe it's dry cleaning like it was for me, and ask yourself this in your business as well. For me, I was constantly answering questions around like, I lost my password, or I need the link for the course, or like, how do I log into the course that I just bought from you, right? So I'd be at work and I'm getting these like pings on my phone, someone had purchased something and they can't, access the course, and they're like emailing me for support. So that was why a virtual assistant was one of my first hires, because I was at work, right? I was working full time. And so I was like, man, I need somebody who's going to be able to answer all of these emails very quickly. And so I loved having that person work for me in my business. Again, it was just a few hours a week. It didn't cost very much, but they could, handle those emails and make sure that the person was able to reset their password or whatever, because that was a repetitive task for me. So you want to ask yourself, what are the repetitive tasks that are in your life and in your business that are really kind of stealing and draining your attention? Delegate those, outsource those, get that off your plate so that you can then focus on delegating other things. All right, so after you focus on the repetitive tasks, the next task or group of tasks that you want to focus on are what I call value of my time tasks, right? And my husband kind of rolls his eyes because he thinks I use this as a justification for everything. And he's kind of right, it's true, I do, but I know the value of my time, right? I ask myself, so these are tasks that I'm doing where I ask myself, the amount of time that I'm spending on this task, if I took that same amount of time and I focused it on doing something in my business or, making money or whatever, would the outcome be more than what it cost me to do this activity, right? So perfect example, one of the first value of my time tasks that I outsourced was housekeeping, right? So at the time, every Saturday, I did the old school, play music. Remember when your mom would get up early on a Saturday and play old school music and then get you and, your brother and your sister up and divide up all the tasks, you got the bathroom, you got the trash, you got mow the lawn, you're doing this, you're doing that. I remember those old school Saturday cleaning rituals. And so I had kept that up, right? Even as a newlywed, I remember my husband and I, we were living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and Saturday mornings, right? I was, banging the pots, not really, but I was like, babe, get up. We gotta get this apartment in tip top shape. And it was taking 4 hours on a Saturday, even though it was a small apartment, but we were so busy during the week. And again, I was focused on building my business, that place got pretty messy, right? So on Saturday, we were spending the whole morning, really getting the apartment together. And I was like, man, if I spent these 4 hours on a Saturday, because I was working full time, focused on growing my business, how much more would I be able to make? And I could quantify that in real dollars. I was like, man, if I could focus on getting my social media together for the week, if I did that on a Saturday, I'd be likely to sell an extra course or to land an extra client. And I would ask myself, well, how much could I land that client for? Could I land the client for $1,500? Could I sell a course even for $500, right? And whatever that answer was, it kept coming out to cheaper than what it would be to hire a housekeeper. So I hired my first housekeeper. At the time, she was charging $80 per house cleaning session. I was so nervous. Initially, I only had her come every 2 weeks, right? So every other Saturday, but I quickly moved her up to every Saturday because the math just worked out in terms of the value of my time, right? If I could pay you $80, you could clean the apartment a lot faster than I can because this is your profession, this is what you do. So it's gonna take her less time than the 4 hours that it took me, but I get my 4 hours back, and that's 4 hours that I could focus on growing my business, and I could do something that's gonna generate me a lot more than $80. That was the math that I started doing, right? So when we think about value of our time type tasks, I then split these tasks into 2 lanes, right? So the first lane is tasks that are focused on, if I spent this time not doing this, but doing something else in my business, would it help me make money, right? Can I focus on making money? So you wanna ask yourself, both in your personal life and in your business life, what are the tasks that are taking your attention away from actually making money? So for me, it was housekeeping. As I started to grow in my business and could afford a little bit more, I started outsourcing meal prep, right? I have a meal prep chef that comes every single week. She handles all the grocery shopping, kind of the pantry management. She cooks all the meals that we're gonna be eating for the week. And I literally don't even have to think about it. In fact, I would even put this in that repetitive task category because it's no longer something that's using up memory space in the back of my mind. I never rush home at 5 or 6 p.m. stressed out, oh my goodness, what are the kids gonna eat? I never have to worry about that anymore because I have a meal prep chef who handles that. And if you think that that's an extravagant expense, it's not nearly as expensive as you would think it is. And for us, I find that it actually works out cheaper than when we were buying groceries on our own because she's so good at using the ingredients that we already have in the house. So her grocery bills, I look at what she orders on Instacart. she might spend like $20 some weeks, $30, on extra vegetables or whatever, because she's using meat we already have in the freezer, grains that we already have in the pantry, stuff that I'm just not good at doing. And I was like spending $200 and $300 every single week on brand new food and then wasting half of it because I wasn't cooking it. She's able to just use what we have. So, pound for pound, when I look at the amount of money that goes towards, food, we actually save money even with her chef fee because her grocery bills are so low. So that's what I'm saying. Look at the math and really think about that. But in terms of, having my time back, oh my goodness, daily, right? That's an extra like 2 hours I get a day that I could not only focus on my business, but focus on just spending time with my family, spending time with my kids, which has value as well. So when I put a value to those tasks, it far and above exceeds, again, the amount that it costs me in order to outsource, meal prep chefing, especially because, again, my chef ends up saving us money. So you want to ask yourself, what are the things that are going to help you make money? Also in my business, I was spending a lot of time designing graphics, and, my branding, even back then, was very important to me. I always wanted to have my branding come across as, professional. Because I'm not a graphic designer, it's taken me like 8 hours to design these graphics or design these PDFs when I could hire somebody and, pay them on an hourly basis, and they can do this like, in 1 hour. So again, it takes them less time, but the amount of time that I was spending, how much money I could make in 8 hours if I could just focus on marketing or attracting clients. So that was something that I outsourced very quickly. In fact, that was my second hire. After hiring that virtual assistant, I hired a graphic designer because I was spending so much time, again, value of my time, but I was focusing on things that weren't necessarily helping me make money. Like in the grand scheme of things they were, but I knew that if I focused my attention directly on making money, that I would make a lot more than what it would cost me to have someone handle that area of my business. Now I mentioned that when I think about value of my time tasks, I split them into two categories, right? So there's value of my time, meaning my time is worth more if I focus on making money versus doing this task. But now as my business has grown, and you might not be here yet, but this is something to think about in terms of where you're going, I now not only focus on, is this a task where I could be, focus on something else and making money. I now ask myself, could I focus on management, right? Meaning I no longer necessarily do the tasks that directly lead to making money. I now focus on managing people who do the tasks that will lead to money, right? So again, it's a value of my time thing, because as my business has grown, my time has become even more valuable. And so even though there are tasks that directly lead to making money, say like taking sales calls or doing social media or writing email marketing campaigns, again, the value of my time has gotten to a level where I actually save money, right? Or my business makes more if I focus not on doing that task myself, but if I focus on managing people who can do that task for me, right? So I have a sales team who handles my sales calls. I don't do that anymore because I don't need to, because again, the value of my time exceeds even what it would be for me to directly do that, even though that is a revenue generating activity. I have people managing my social media, right? I have a whole social media team now. I'm not on Instagram like posting stuff, right? I have a team that repurposes my content, that schedules things to go out, that, manages all of that, even though that is a revenue generating activity because it builds my brand and it brings in customers. Again, my time value has gotten to the level where it's not cost effective for me to do those things. It's more cost effective for me to hire people to do those things and then manage them versus me doing them myself. So you're gonna start with, okay, what are the tasks that I can offload so that I can focus on making money? But just know, because again, this is our outsourcing roadmap, you wanna get to a place where you are not even doing the tasks that necessarily make money, you are managing the people that do the tasks that make money. And then you'll find that you'll have a lot of freedom in your business to not only grow your business, right, to think strategically and work on your business, not in it, but you'll have more freedom to maybe do fun things like write a book or do more speaking engagements, or even get into partnerships or start new businesses, right? I have a bunch of new businesses that I'm starting. In fact, I mentioned this in my video, which you can check out here, how to legally set up your coaching business. I thought to do that video because I'm legally setting up all these new businesses for all these new business endeavors that I'm getting into. Part of the reason why I have the mental bandwidth to start new businesses and to do new joint ventures with business partners and things is because I'm now at a level where I don't even focus on making money tasks. I focus on management tasks of the people who are actually making the money for me. All right, so I hope this was helpful for you and gave you something to think about when it comes to outsourcing. And of course, the biggest question is, how do I generate generate enough revenue to be able to even hire people to delegate all these tasks like this. And you do this by building a very successful coaching business. And so if you want to know how to do that, I have my brand new CLS Coaching Certification Program, which not only will teach you how to coach, right, via our methodology, it will teach you how to come up with your own coaching methodology, how to package that up into your own coaching program. And if you choose to, we even have a version of this certification where we will then walk with you and show you how to build this into a mega brand, sell this, even if you're just starting from scratch, and you can start attracting your own high ticket clients so that you can become the next big name in your industry. So if you want to learn all about that, you can go ahead and click the link below to schedule a call with someone on my enrollment team who will walk through this entire process with you. And then hopefully you can join us in the next cohort. So if that's of interest to you, click the link below. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait for my next YouTube video, make sure you are subscribed to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show, on both iTunes and Spotify. And if you can't wait for my next podcast episode or my next YouTube video, make sure you're following me on Instagram and TikTok. Yes, I'm on TikTok now. And my username on both of those platforms is CourtneyLSanders. So find me on Instagram or TikTok. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.